Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel for arguably the biggest match preview that we have done in 6 years of the George Benson football channel. Not to make this about the channel, not to make this about me. This really is the biggest game that Chelsea have played in the Premier League since we won it in 2017. I don't think there's been a day in the Premier League's history where the final day of the season, when it comes to European football, had so many teams competing for 3 spots. You've got 5 teams and only 3 spots available. And listen here, right? For Chelsea Football Club, we've seen Manchester United lose the Europa League final, and that is D-Day, and it is disaster from this point on for Manchester United. For Chelsea, in my opinion, us not getting Champions League football, having spent the money that we've spent, with the squad that we've got, with the great players that we actually do have, no Champions League, in my opinion, is an absolute disaster. Not maybe on the Man United level of disaster, but make no mistake about it. Champions League football is where we belong. At a minimum, Chelsea should be competing in the Champions League every season, because of our history, because of how much money we've spent. It's not all about like, well, because we're Chelsea, we should be there. Well, no, it's also because of what we're doing now that we should be there. You can't spend all of that money and be satisfied with Europa League, or even worse, the bloody Conference League. And we go to Nottingham Forest, a team who themselves are looking to beat us to get Champions League football as well. Honestly, this is absolutely massive. We're going to go into it today. We're going to talk about the different stipulations. We're going to take a look at the last game between Chelsea and Forest because it tells us a lot. And we're also going to address the fact that if you actually break everything down, statistically, Chelsea probably won't win this game. But I'm going to tell you why we absolutely will, and we're going to the Champions League next season. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel because this game is going to be mega. The live stream is going to be box office. Make sure you're subscribed. Smack a like if you enjoy this preview. And let's talk about it, shall we? Aston Villa are a team that have won 7 out of their last Premier League games. They are going to Manchester United. There's 2 ways you can look at that fixture. Man United might be so deflated after losing that final in Bilbao that it will be a walk in the park for Aston Villa. On the other side of that coin, you have got a Manchester United team that are probably incredibly embarrassed, that their season has been an absolute catastrophe, that on the final match of the season at Old Trafford, they do what Man United should do, which is get angry, go out there, smell blood, and hurt Aston Villa. Do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I think Villa will destroy them. I think it will be 3 or 4-0. And Aston Villa will win. Newcastle are at home to Everton. Everton win or lose, they don't move positions. Last week was Everton's final. So Newcastle will win. You got Man City away at Fulham. This isn't actually as easy of a fixture as you might think it is. We saw Chelsea go there and win a couple of weeks ago, but Fulham have had a very good season. Man City, I don't think, have been playing the best football, but they've got more points right now than everybody else, and I do think Man City will win. Which means Chelsea Football Club have absolutely no choice but to beat Nottingham Forest. If we draw, we're relying on Man United to beat Aston Villa, or draw against Aston Villa. We basically have to do better than Aston Villa's result and Forest. So by default, maybe it's a good thing we're playing Forest, but at the same time, the attitude going into this match has to be to win it. It's a final. It's a game that if you win, you get what you want. And it's not a trophy. We know that. We want to be competing for the big one next season. But to get into the Champions League means so much to this football club. A, it is the premium European competition. B, the revenue that we absolutely, guys, we desperately need the money from the Champions League. And thirdly, the top players, which are the ones we should be looking to buy at this football club, they want to play in it as well. So in every sense of the imagination, this match is 10 times bigger than the final that we play next Wednesday. For me, this game is light and day, like night and day above. It is so huge, this match against Nottingham Forest. I can't even begin to fathom my nerves on the match day. So let's take a little look now at Chelsea's struggles, let's say, against teams that don't like to have the ball. But first things first, Chelsea versus Forest at Stamford Bridge on the 6th of October 2024. Chris Wood gave Forest the lead, and Nottingham Forest scored a very nice goal just after, and the game finished 1-1. You can see in the first half, Chelsea pretty dominant, not many chances for Forest, and then straight away, at the beginning of the second half, they score. Then they start to have some good possession. Chelsea equalise, and again, we dominate proceedings for the remainder of the game. Cole Palmer was man of the match, closely followed by Noni Madueke. Quite a few bookings towards the end of the match as well. It was scrappy. And if you look at the bench, Chelsea had Felix, Nkunku, Tosin, Mudryk, Neto, all coming off the bench that day. And a lot has changed at Chelsea since then. But for Nottingham Forest, Nuno, this is probably going to be something quite similar to what we see at the City ground, apart from James Ward-Prowse, who got that ridiculous red card that day. This back line have been amazing all season. Ryan Yates, solid player. You've got no Anthony Elanga in that starting 11. There will be some question marks about who starts or who comes off the bench for Nottingham Forest. But the thing that we need to focus on is the fact that Nottingham Forest don't want to have the ball. They like to literally soak up opposition possession and then quick, fast, counter-attacking football to hurt teams down the other end. Nottingham Forest are everything that Chelsea are not in one sense because they're clinical. They get their chances, they convert their chances. Chelsea, we create a lot of chances, but we don't finish anywhere near enough of them. So if you put all of this together, and this, which is Chelsea this season, and possession is this yellow line that we've got going down the middle here. Out of the 4 matches where we've had the most of the ball this season, we don't have a single win. And after that, West Ham and Bournemouth, we had 66, 68% possession. We won that match. And then the Forest game is what? The 7th highest possession we've had this season. We drew that one. So we've won 2 out of 7 games where we've dominated the ball. And Nottingham Forest, I think they're in the bottom 3 when it comes to how much of the ball they have this season, which is why a lot of people, myself included, I'm looking at this thinking, this genuinely might have been the hardest fixture that you could possibly have on the final day of the season. Because stylistically, we don't match up against this very well. They have got something humongous to fight for. If Forest beat us, then they can go into the Champions League. It's absolutely mind-blowing how important this game is, not just for Chelsea, but for Forest as well. Now, the thing with Forest is the fact that they are 1 point below Aston Villa. So if Aston Villa, Man City and Newcastle all win, then I think Forest still miss out. But it means they'll go above us in the table, which means instead of Conference League football, they get Europa League football. So there is so much on the line here. So much on the line for Chelsea. And look, as of right now, I can't even comprehend what might happen if we don't get Champions League football next season. I've got to go into this game with like blind optimism, blind faith that we can do it. The good positive about this is that Forest's recent form has been really poor. They beat West Ham away, but West Ham have had a shocking season. West Ham didn't really put up a fight in that match. Bowen scored a great goal late on, but Nottingham Forest just do find ways to win. I think in terms of what Forest do, I don't necessarily think Chelsea or Maresca will set us up to be stupid enough to allow for their pacey players to get those quick counters on us. I think we've got the right players to deal with that kind of problem, and that is why we're going to build the Chelsea 11 now. For the final time this season, Premier League preview, subscribe, smack a like, and let's move into my team. Robert Sanchez in goal. I'm not going to say anything bad about this bloke because recently, defensively, everybody has upped it a level. Not just Robert Sanchez, but the whole defence have been so much better. This is a game where I swear, I've kind of stopped talking about the goalkeeping position because we've been so focused on striker, left winger, centre back. But please don't let me down, Rob. Seriously, I don't think I can cope if it's a Sanchez error that makes us miss out on this Champions League football. We move into the back 4. Reece James, Trevor Chalobah, Levi Colwill, Mark Cucurella. For me, it is absolutely pivotal, essential, non-negotiable that Chelsea's captain starts in the biggest league game of our last decade at this football club. Reece James the other day against Manchester United was the difference maker. And as we go through this team and this lineup here, I have picked a team that I think can not only combat the very aggressive nature of what Nottingham Forest do when they're going forward, but one thing also that they do very well is with Chris Wood, they've got somebody who loves to get the ball, receive it, and then Morgan Gibbs-White is always approaching him very closely to receive the second ball. So what Chelsea desperately need to do here is have 2 ball-winning machines in the middle of the park to combat this Nottingham Forest cheat code this season, which has been those layoffs and it's been those runs from those inside forwards, Elanga, Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, whoever it might be. So Lavia and Caicedo protecting and shielding Chelsea's defence. Marc Cucurella, our top goal scorer this season. I'm not entirely sure what his role's going to be here. I genuinely think when it comes to the tactical setup going into this game, we might have to see something very different from Enzo Maresca. And if I use Tottenham, for example, I can't believe I'm doing this, but if you look at the way that Ange looked at that Man United game and completely ripped up his script, completely ripped up his rulebook and was like, right, well, we're going to just go for the jugular. No, it's a final. We don't lose. And I think what Tottenham did so well was actually take their opportunity. I can't believe I'm praising Spurs for this, but Ange changed everything. He only had 27% of the possession and he sat deeper and invited the pressure. And when it comes to Chelsea in this game, I'm not going to say let's just sit really deep and play Forest at their own game, but we do absolutely need to think about what Forest do better than anybody else in the league this season in transition. And we've got to combat that by having these two defensive midfielders in front of the defenders. And then obviously now we have to move further up the field. When it comes to that decision about the wingers, we have got Neto, Madueke, and Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho usually is the guy that I would pick against the low block. But do we do that in this game? And obviously, when you look at this team that I've built so far, there's no Enzo Fernandez. We've got James, Caicedo, and Lavia. But that doesn't mean to say that Enzo Fernandez doesn't make my Chelsea starting 11. He does. Palmer on the right wing. If there was ever a time you have to have Reece James out there, you need Lavia out there on the pitch against this Forest team. And we need to see Palmer back out there on the right wing. We need to win. We absolutely need to win this game. Enzo Fernandez needs to be in the starting 11 because of all of the opportunities he's created. He's in great form in the second half of the season. Last 6 months, Enzo Fernandez has become undroppable in this Chelsea team. I know a lot of people get upset with him and annoyed with him that he does get dribbled past quite often in the middle of the pitch because he's not the quickest, but he puts himself about. Sancho I've gone with on the left and Neto up front. The good news after Maresca's press conference, whether you think it's good news or not, I think it's great news that we've got players fit and available. Nkunku is fit and ready to play. Mark Guiu is fit and ready to play. The more attacking options that Chelsea have to change this game in our favour, if it's not going our way, is massive for Chelsea. The other option I've gone with is Noni Madueke on the left wing. And I'm going to say this now, right? Because obviously the score prediction is the biggest score prediction I'll give this season. I think Noni Madueke, whether he starts or comes off the bench, is going to have a massive say in Chelsea getting Champions League football, because he's either going to come off the bench as an impact substitution with the legs and the desire to get into that competition to do something for us, or he's going to do what he did earlier this season. And just to remind you, that was score against Nottingham Forest. This game, I said it at the start and I'll wrap this video up by saying the same again. There is not a bigger Premier League match that we have played in 8 years. This game can be era defining for Chelsea football. Win, and we can safely say that we're making progress. Because it's true. To go from the Conference League and finishing 6th to getting Champions League football is undeniable, non-negotiable progress. Simple as that. Do I think we're going to do it, though? I've got this weird feeling that we are. I think Forest's form has been poor. Maresca's... he's got to change things up a little bit here. Or, if it isn't going our way, change it early. Because this is no excuses here now. This is do or die. Make or break. Season defining. Era defining. I kind of don't want this video to end because I don't want this energy to go. Do you know what I mean? Because we have to win this game. It is so important. It's more important than the Conference League final for me. And I would never normally say Champions League, it's not a trophy, but I would never normally say that a game would mean more than winning a trophy. But this one just, it just does. 110 billion% does, okay? I think we're going to win 3-1. Part of me also thinks it's going to finish 1-1 because of this. Because we can't play against teams that give us all of the ball. Because we struggle against teams that play with 5 at the back or wing backs and all that stuff. We really do. But we have to turn it on. There is no excuses. And the excuse is, but I'm not saying it as an excuse now, we should have already been done with this. We should have beaten Ipswich twice. We should have won at Brentford. We should have had enough points that this game didn't matter. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't do that. So now, no excuses available. Chelsea, just win. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. This will probably be the last video before the live stream. I think I'm going to be so nervous on match day that I'll probably go live like 2 hours before kickoff and then throughout the game, just so that we can all hang out with each other and console one another. So yeah, subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed this preview. It doesn't get any bigger than this. Come on, you Blues.